let's get into it. Bitcoin. So here was the kind of the last big picture perspective thing that I put out on social media. I think I put it out on Twitter, just saying like, hey, this is how I view things. Here's the big question. What are we going to do from here? Are we going to break? This is the concept. We're going to break and hold and then send it, right? Which would be in support of this reaccumulation setup. Or are we going to fall back, close in the range? You already know, as soon as you come up, come down, close in a range, right about this point, you're automatically looking, you know, for a range low push. This is pretty crazy. So let's see how things played out. We're going to go ahead and tick it and kind of like play it out forward. All right, so here's where we are today. These are 4-hour candles. We broke down. The question is, okay, now what? So we did close a 4-hour candle, but there's an attempt to rally. If I throw this on, say, the 1 hour, you know, there's an argument to be made like, oh, look, we're going to rally out of this and everything's going to be fine. I'm not quite there yet. I'm actually more of a believer. I'm not trading this. I do not like trading this kind of thing. I'll show you what trade I did take on BINGX, which was very profitable, you know, with respect to what I gambled, which I did not gamble much. I hate trading bear markets, so it better be like the world's best setup for me to do it. But anyway, this to me, I am more of a believer of this scenario playing out. So I know I have the arrow drawn right there. Obviously that it doesn't matter. All I'm saying is consolidation, break below, and then here we go. And this is the scenario I'm more leaning toward. So if we threw this on like the daily or something, it'd be more clear. But there are very smart people out there who disagree with me. Kaleo, who is a great guy and I'm a huge fan of, he thinks that, you know, hey, we're going to go up and we're going to go to the moon, right? He's a huge moon boy right here in this point in time. Crypto Wendy, right? Which a lot of people give Kaleo a hard time for being too bullish. I saw other people in the chat talking about Wendy and like they don't like her takes on stuff. You know, Wendy thinks we're going down. Yeah, place your bets. I don't care what you do, right? I'm encouraging you to come up with your own plan. I don't care if you trade it or sit on the side or whatever. Hell, Lord knows that's what I do half the time, is just kind of watch through a bear market. I have no interest in trading a bear market. But to me, this is a nice try. When I throw volume on, this to me does not look like bear market bottom volume. This volume profile, and let me go through like different exchanges. None of that looks like bear market bottom kind of volume to me, right? You know, by comparison, this is really clear. Big impulsive move down, bloop, drifting volume, big impulsive volume up. Okay, bear market over, right? So compare that to today. Yeah, we got the big impulsive move down, but how come when we finally broke up and out of this, why did we not get big, huge impulsive volume up? So that is my, like, the scare. This is what I became very suspect with this little breakout. I'm not a huge believer that we're going to the moon, even though we broke this downtrend. I think we could. I think the setup is potentially there. Sure. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible. But to me, this is just not, it's not it. It ain't it. Especially on the lower time frame when I look at this kind of thing, when I look at this. So I do not like, I'm going to go ahead and delete these little arrows because I think they kind of distract more than help. I do not like, number one, how the market has these little 3 pushes to a high meme, whatever you want to call it, with this impulsing so hard to these highs. That's like the thing I dislike. Number two, and then how we're rolling back. Now, a bull would tell you, oh no, we're just doing this and it's fine. We're going to consolidate and then send it. And this is just some consolidation. That's all we need. That's fine. And maybe it is. But you better pray that we don't make a new low here, that we don't close a low, anything to kind of tip the scale in the toward the bears, right? Because right now this is a pretty nasty little setup. So I don't love it. I don't love it. All right. So let's look at Ethereum. What is Ethereum doing? Do we have any reads on Ethereum? Well, we do have this sort of similar setup to what Bitcoin was doing. With respect to, there was a downtrend that got broken. We do have this parabolic downtrend where we broke out from it, which is cool. That's great. Question is, okay, now what? Now this is actually pretty good volume. This is what you want to see on a trend break, right? You see how the volume just kind of drifting down, and then boom, big impulsive bullish buys right in there. So the question is, okay, now what? Obviously, I think for the bulls, I'd be pointing out how that volume, all that sell volume, really didn't do anything. Do I have some great read on, what Ethereum is doing in a vacuum? No, I have no idea. What am I watching continuously is what Bitcoin's doing. Whatever Bitcoin does is going to, it's going to play out through the entire market. I don't think something like Ethereum is going to pump in a vacuum. Could this be the world's cleanest head and shoulders forming? Yeah, probably. Where would that leave us? All right, so if this head and shoulder breaks down, plays out, as one might expect. So we have the 1618, we have the measured move. So we'll see what happens. Should price start to break down, should Ethereum break below, your first target would be this kind of 1450-ish level, and then like 1375 be your secondary target. This is the 1.618, and then this is the measured move. But it opens up some really interesting options too. Like, for example, imagine if this does come down and, do whatever. Well, all of a sudden now you actually have a megaphone pattern, right? You see what I'm talking about? Like, because it would come down, whether it, let's say, like wicks down and then pulls back, or perhaps it comes down to here, whatever. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. We don't have any like great setup that I think is really actionable unless you're a channel believer. A lot of people just buy, sell, like they swear by the channels. That's fine. If that's your game, go for it. Hey, you do you. FBTC, I don't really have a whole lot to offer here other than it's my opinion that the trend has broken, that there was also a sort of head and shoulders on Ethereum on the Bitcoin pair, and it has broken down. It's clear on a line chart. I was looking at this earlier. Yeah, but rally back and you've got a really nice ascending triangle, which, would lead to something like that. But for now, we have to take this at face value, which is either some kind of like head and shoulders, Frankenstein, it's not perfect, or perhaps a bullish pattern that is broken down. So I'm watching very closely with respect to this diagonal right here, what's happening right here. Very interesting stuff. All right, and then Litecoin, we got to talk about Litecoin. Litecoin is super interesting. And now it's just sending it. Chat, what did y'all do to Litecoin? What's the deal with Litecoin? This is nuts. Now, I know there's been some talk, especially on my Twitter feed, about how this is like super scary and super bearish and stuff. We had a massive downtrend, some consolidation, a breakdown, and now a rally back above this support line. While I'm not the world's biggest Litecoin fanboy, this is checking a lot of boxes for bullish continuation. So I'm not about to like FOMO into the trade or anything, but hats off to the Litecoin maxis who like really went for it and were not had no worry about this. This is nutty. So the things to kind of keep in mind here is, like I was saying, you have a pretty clear trend that broke up, right? But here's what else is happening. We're above any of these highs. We're closing candles, multiple candles above this. So what would add confidence to me is something like this with a further breakout. That is this is a much stronger sign of continuation to me rather than just like straight up. If this is just a little bear market rally, which I would really hope, when I say a little, I mean, look how long we've been in this range. So whether or not you include this is kind of up for debate, but let's start from the time it broke that little breakdown. So this is starting on June 8th to today is 150 days. So 6 months, y'all. Or 5 months, excuse me. So this is not a meaningless amount of time. If this was a couple days or something, I'd be fading it all day. But this is 6 months. 6 months of thinking about it, of like kind of him and hawing, maybe, whatever. And here we go. Not the world's biggest Litecoin fan and owns a Litecoin. Okay, well, and knows the founder and went to the Litecoin conference and spoke. Oh yeah, all right, fair point, I guess. But yeah, there's all sorts of stuff even happening on the higher time frame, which I want to see what happens with this. That's what I want to see. So I'll tell you what would be super interesting to me. Let me lay out my most interesting scenario. How nasty would that be? All right, so I did my best to point out that it would it would add to my confidence if the lows had been run. I don't like how just about anybody could stab along and they're in profit for the last 6 months at the lows, right? At the little impulse lows. I don't like that. That bothers me with respect to how macro markets typically behave. You know, you look at every major move to the upside, there's almost always this little jabady run the lows kind of move. There's like a big scary thing, it shakes people out, big scary thing shakes people out, you know, whatever, before it actually sends it. And so even like back here, this is, now we're going back to 2016, right? Look at this big sell-off before we actually go, before it actually went. Let's bring that to present and kind of look at how the recent price actions behaved. Nobody's been punished. Anybody who longed from 50 bucks on is like hashtag winner. So with that in mind, I think it would be super interesting if all the lows got run without meaningfully dropping to new lows, right? We're talking about running the lows by like $3 or $4 or something. And then rallying back and painting one of the world's cleanest Wyckoff accumulation in the process. I just think something like this would be super interesting. But, you know, we'll see how it plays out. But these are the kind of things that I want to get people considering. I don't want you to just be like, oh, candle green. Okay, number go up. I increase my leverage. You know, especially having an exchange sponsor me, I'm going to be very mindful of that. I'm not encouraging you to take a trade or whatever, just so like, oh, my RefLink money or whatever. You know what I mean? Then, so I'm going to continue to like challenge these narratives of like, all right, prove that this is really super bullish. You show me run the lows and come back into the range, like right about here, sweatiest long you've ever seen in your life. Done. Right there at that moment. Boom. I'm in. That's it. That's the one. That's what I look for. Until then, I'm looking for like other things to catch my interest and to like encourage me to take a trade. But I'm not a huge fan of, you know, anything remotely like this. Anytime there's some sort of diagonal line that price keeps kind of hitting its head on, which is what I was pointing out with Bitcoin as well, right? Especially on the lower time frame, that there seems to be this kind of like level, this diagonal to the upside where we keep kind of smacking our head on it and failing to continue to the upside. And I don't think Litecoin's any different, despite the impulse and like how bullish it is. So be careful. Be careful. Same theory for Bitcoin. No, test 17K, range above 19 and send. Don't see many people talking about that. Wistful, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to talk about. So what Wistful is talking about is, wouldn't it be interesting? Ran the lows to like, you know, 17-ish, come back and send it. And you know what? He's right. He's exactly right. There's nothing wrong with that. Let me paint the picture, paint the tape a little bit more. So the market is telling you, hey, this level's interesting. This is interesting. This is interesting. So we know this level's good. We know this level's good. Could we continue kind of like grinding up and then ultimately break down? Sure. We also know that this midline is good. Look at all this. Look at all this interaction at the midline. And then lastly, we know these lows are good. So we know we have a true range. Up here, we really don't have any retests at all, right? So all I'm going to do is be watching kind of this upper level as a sort of kind of extension level, but I'm not taking it super serious. So this would be the trade range. As soon as you can identify a trade range, you're ahead of 90% of traders. Done. You're way ahead of the game. So automatically, I know that the only parts of this entire trade range that matter are this, this, and this. Okay. And I'm not saying with respect to like, oh, now you can trade it and, you know, leverage up and we're going to go from range low to range high. No, all I'm saying is now you have clarity. It's like putting on special glasses and you're like, oh, now I see it. Because if price comes up here, let's say it gets all the way up to like 22.5. Let's say we just impulse up there tonight or something. Well, in the broad scheme of things, you know, if this is some sort of, I can't draw it. All right, if this is some sort of rising wedge, which is a bearish pattern to begin with, into the range highs, and then it starts to kind of falter, like, you need to take that very serious. You need to, like, cut your longs, get out of the way of this thing, that kind of thing. What's up, Mr. Potato? But by the same token, if it rallies up above and consolidates, well, maybe you're watching to this little extension target, whatever. But the punchline is you have a perspective now. You know what you're looking at. And to point out what Automata was saying, let's say it did come all the way down and run the lows only to come back. You better bet your sweet cheeks, Buckaroo, that right there, that is where I'm like, send it. Right now I'm bullish. Now I pull the bear mask down. I like tear it live on screen or something, and we'll put the bull one back up. That's what's up. But until then, be very careful. Now, I think it's interesting. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I'm just making a point really quick that we need to keep our eye on the kind of tertiary or like extension Bitcoin or crypto stocks, MicroStrategy, different mining stocks, Coinbase itself, whatever. We need to watch what's happening with them because it's the same idea. Maybe we get kind of a heads up early on, right? Like what if it came down, ran the lows and came back? But what if it did that like a week before we see anything similar to that on Bitcoin? How interesting would that be? Well, now we need to kind of change our sentiment like, oh, you know what? This is getting very interesting. I wonder, because you can only trade Monday through Friday. There's a possibility that, the big boy whales or whatever are going to have to make a move at close on Friday that we don't actually see on the Bitcoin chart until Sunday night or Monday morning, something like that. All right. So I was painting the idea of what a bullish accumulation would look like. And we're actually kind of starting to do that, but I don't believe in this yet. I'm just showing what that would look like. One thing we did not get, I'm going to move this up here just to make this point. One thing we did not get is running the lows. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. If we do not run the lows, I am not a huge fan of it because all that's happening is anybody who just stabs along at the lows and kind of waits patiently, they're good to go. So we had like some impulse lows here. That right there is 2 weeks. So outside of that, anybody who took a stab on a long, they're good to go. Anybody who longed down in this area, they did not get their stops run. This is what I mean, if I could design a picture perfect accumulation range, that's what it would look like. And that's why I had this, because it's a key component to an actual bullish market. Because we didn't get that, I have very little faith in what we're looking at. Let's talk about the FTX token. No, I haven't. We need to pull up some of those tweets really quick. Let's do that. By the way, to my latecomers, I don't know if you knew, but BINGX is officially sponsoring this stream now. So I am a sponsored man. How about that? CZ and Binance bought a lot of FTT. They have that. They've held it for a long time. And they have not sold it. They didn't sell it at any point to try and hurt, Sam, whatever. And what CZ has said publicly is that he thinks that having somebody else in the space who's kind of his equal or another exchange in the space that's like Binance's equal is actually good for the space. And that, yes, he could have like taken a big swing and just try to kind of go to war with FTX and all that. But he says that would actually be a net negative for the entire space. Now, who knows if it's all just like clever marketing or what, but this is what he said. So CZ invested in FTX from the beginning. Yeah, exactly, Johnny. That's a great point. I should have made that point. Yes. So CZ has been behind it, but that's my point, is that he's pointing out publicly, like, I could have messed with these guys or kind of screwed with them at any point. However, we've learned some things, and we can't go along with it anymore. We have to get rid of it. I think he put it a little bit more aptly in an earlier tweet. So they got 2.1 billion in BUSD and FTT due to recent revelations that have come to light. We have decided to liquidate any remaining FTT on our books. We will try to do so in a way that minimizes market impact. Due to market conditions, we expect this will take a few months to complete. Binance always encourages collaboration, this is what I was talking about earlier, between industry players. Regarding any speculation as to whether this is a move against a competitor, it is not. Our industry is in its nascency, and every time a project publicly fails, it hurts everyone. It hurts every user and every platform. We typically hold these tokens for the long term, and we've held onto this token for this long. We stay transparent with our actions. 4 out of 4. Very, very interesting. And then he had this follow up where he said, liquidating our FTT is just post exit risk management, learning from Luna. We gave support before, but we won't pretend to make love after the divorce. We are not against anyone, but we won't support people who lobby against our industry who lobby against other industry players behind their backs onwards. So that I believe, and I don't think anybody's come out and like really cleared it up, but I believe this is in response to some of the public stuff that's gone on with Sam Bankman-Fried, and some of the things he's encouraged, the bills that he's encouraged, and like the language of some of these bills, which is less within the spirit of what crypto is and decentralization and that kind of thing. It's actually more like, yeah, let's play by the big guys' rules, and we got to play by the rules and that kind of thing. So yeah, so okay, CZ is like, we're going to sell, we've got billions of stuff, and he doesn't break down how much of that is FTT, but he goes, we're going to sell all our FTT. We're going to try not to just hammer the coin. I almost said the stock. We're going to try not to hammer the coin too hard, immediately and liquidate everyone. And it will take months. Okay, either this happens in a bubble, right? And like kind of over here on the side is FTT and all this trouble and whatever. Or perhaps there's more going on. Perhaps we're going to get another run of the lows, for the next few months before we actually get the move to the upside, right? Just like I was talking about with Ethereum, with Litecoin, with Bitcoin, whatever. So very, very interesting. All that being said, let us take a look at FTT. Let's see what's going on with FTT. All right, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove... Oh, actually, before I remove anything, we've got to kind of have a collective laugh at this. These charts, the charts will tell you everything if you just listen. If you put the hardest part of trading is yourself. Right? It's putting your own beliefs, your own emotions aside and just trading what's straight on the chart. You shouldn't have been in FTX token since back in here. You should have been out since like 35 or 36. No questions asked. You have no business being in this. Structurally speaking, there's no reason to have held any kind of position since that breakdown. Now, following that breakdown, there's been nothing but a consolidation triangle, whatever you want to call it. Since then, I'm going to delete this just so we can kind of all see. It's just kind of been choppy, right? It broke below, broke above, and now it's going back down. So fake out 1, fake out 2, and now this, in my opinion, is likely to be the real move. If you took any kind of longs, you're stopped out. If you took any kind of shorts, you're stopped out. So this move was designed to shake anybody and everybody out. The move was this to this. Actually, it was that impulse down, followed by that impulse up, and now this is likely to be the real move, which the broader pattern was kind of telegraphing anyway. And if you didn't like that pattern, well, you always had this. So what I did is I turned it from a bar or from candles to a line chart, and you can see that there's this floor. Where did I get this floor? Like, what is this? Well, this is where we came down and retested and found support back in the June to July, 2021, where this rolled back over. So this was prior support. We're back at prior support, but it's not looking great. The question is, okay, now what? And boys and girls, I got no answer for you. This is the prayer line. Prayer line is this: $12, $10. I use log here because, okay, this is without log. Is this helpful? Have I helped? Am I helping you here? Log is so that you can make sense of what you're looking at when things are going parabolic. So here is one way. Let's go over how somebody can, I'm going to delete all that, right? So let's go and talk about how can you come up with a reasonable, like a bear market bottom. Well, one of the best things that I've found to work in the past is this visible range. So what you look for are these clusters, and what you're visually seeing off to the right here is what's being bought and sold, and like where are the buyers and sellers stacked up. So immediately you see this, which is that. and you see this with big respect to that. And there's really nothing else. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to identify these zones, and we're going to watch how this plays out going forward. I'm going to do from like there. So here is kind of the like worst case scenario. This is how you model where are we likely to head back to if we lose this range where we're at. Now, I do think it's important to point out that while I am, saying that the chart's pointing down or whatever, we haven't actually broken down yet. So I do need to point that out. This has been nothing but like debate, and especially on the lower time frame stuff, like I was just pointing out, this is an incredible amount of fake outs, up, down, left, right, break down, break up, we're back down again. So there's lots of debate and crazy stuff going on, but I would expect this to break down and, eventually tag some of these levels. I think that makes the most sense. Jordy asked to look at MATIC. Yes, we will look at MATIC. Ooh! Oh, look at this, though. Here we are again. Oh, man. I didn't know MATIC was sending it like this. Congrats if you're a MATIC bull. I had no faith in MATIC. All right, horizontals. What are we doing? Yeah, like, for real, big congrats if you're a MATIC bull. Huh. I guess we got to pay attention to MATIC, huh? That one, I missed that one. Now, we're only a couple days since the breakout of this. Let's see what holds, though. I want to see it hold, and I want to see consolidation, but I'm kind of like a nerd when it comes to this. I really want to see just that like long-term consolidation, refusing to break and then send it again. I love that. All right, let's talk worst case scenario again. The big if things do start to break down, if they start to break down, I'm not saying they will, just if they do. Man, I don't have a great read on that. Anyway, it would be very interesting for the same kind of thing. Oh, by the way, this reminded me. One thing I was going to point out on Litecoin, I meant to do this earlier, is this kind of Adam and Eve setup. Womp, womp. All right, Adam and Eve. We've actually seen this. Hello? Hello? Mouse? My mouse just decided to, like, die. On Adam and Eve setups, we've seen several through, I think we had, like, Ethereum do it earlier. We had, couple other coins. I forget which all we've seen. I'm talking about over the last like 4 months, 5 months, something like that. So if you wanted to argue that, hey, this kind of looks like a Adam and Eve setup, well, I wouldn't argue with you. I would say that's pretty reasonable. So your price targets, if that's the case, right? So here's your kind of upper band. And then here's this would be your sell zone, so to speak. This is how I would look at things. And that's pretty aggressive because I used the Pico bottom for these measurements. If I wanted to make a little bit more conservative bet, like if I was in a trade and I wanted to just make sure I got out, then this would be, I'll do this in another color to like kind of denote that this is the more conservative. So here I'm using the Eve low rather than the Adam low, which affects kind of what the price targets are. So here is the extension target, and then the measured move target would be here to here. All right, so again, just very quickly, the gap between the yellow lines is effectively your sell zone if you're using the Eve lows, and if you're a little more aggressively minded, then you're watching these kind of white lines as your bookends for where you're closing out your trades, that kind of thing. Okay, what else we got? Google. Somebody wanted to look at Google earlier. Oh my gosh. You know what this? You already know what I'm gonna say. Have I taught you well? I hope I've taught you well. You already know I was going to talk about the Eiffel Tower pattern. Now, what's cool is you can actually look at like specific ones and try to be like, all right, which one does this look more like? NASDAQ. And look what actually happened here. It actually, the NASDAQ 100 came down and ran the lows of where this like really, really key support level was. So perhaps we can find something like that. There we go. So the life lesson here is look for a horizontal, expect it to get run, Everyone's going to cry. And then that's where you take a stab on your long. Like, and I'm not just making that up. I mean, this is kind of the takeaway across the board. This gives us a really, I think this would be nastiest target. I'm going to just say that. This would be the nastiest target because it would stop so many people out. It's like 50 bucks. Yikes. Big yikes. Big sweaty yikes. Now remember what my whole theory was. Hold on, let's go back. Remember what my whole theory was across all traditional markets. And I believe this will fall back into crypto as well, is running all the lows going back to March 2020. Well, okay, let's put that to the test. Where is that on this chart? Where's March 2020? That's right here, which lines up with our nastiest target. I think this is where we're headed, boys and girls. I think this just actually added credence. Oh, I pointed out that Doge did not return to the range highs like Bitcoin did. I thought that was super interesting. Hold on, I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so you have a little breakdown, little impulse on Bitcoin, sweaty move for Doge, right? So these two things don't align. But what I thought was very interesting was like during this breakout, this should have added a lot more confidence to the whole theory. This breakout went from range low to range high, right? So we went from low to high, like almost immediately, like in just a quick little move. Doge did not. Doge did not do the same thing. So Doge failed to retrace the highs, and I just asked the question. I wonder if that's indicative of like what's to come. Because if it were me, if this was a truly bullish market, I think we would have just shoved it. At Doge, speaking for Doge, I think Doge would have sent it straight to the range highs and then broken out to the next level, right? But it didn't. In fact, it was super weak. It barely got to the midline, and here we are, just kind of drifting along. There's some kind of weak diagonals that got retested. So these are bearish arguments. These are not bullish arguments. The most bullish argument you could say is the lows got run, right? You always hear me talking about that. The lows kind of got run from this level. And maybe this is making some sort of W accumulation. I don't know, like double bottom-ish thing. That's super ugly, though. I'm not a huge fan of it, but just as an FYI. Can you look at Chainlink? Yeah, we look at Chainlink. All right, let's look at big picture. What do we got? What do we got? Ooh, that's clean. That's clean. I'm like fitting this a little bit nicer. Oh, I don't hate that. Yeah, that's not bad. All right, it's kind of the same thing as Litecoin. I'm going to delete those really quick just to make this point. We've been here for 5 or 6 months. Like, this is a really interesting level to go just sideways for 5 or 6 months. Let's see what volume did when we broke out. So this, to me, this says that the market is not in agreement yet. That this is a good move. Like, we broke a trend line. Hey, good for us. But there needs to be a big, massive impulse that says, this is what we're doing, boys and girls. Here we go. And I really don't see that yet. So I want to see something happen here, whether that's a big sweaty green candle, and it just explodes up before consolidating. That's the kind of stuff you really want to see for a macro trend. Otherwise, we've seen fake outs before. I mean, this wouldn't be the first time to go effectively sideways and break up, really just to kind of like fall on its face later on. This level looks interesting, right? This seems to be getting some attention from the market here. I think we need to pay attention to this, and I'm going to leave that up. Perhaps we don't see a big swell of like buyers until above that, which is fine. Like, I don't care when it comes in. It's not like a price level thing for me. It just is confidence, because yet again, we did not run any of these lows. So anybody who's just been, buying the longs, adding to their margin longs every time we kind of impulse low, they're not getting penalized. And that's just not how uptrends go. Oftentimes you get absolutely hammered for even having the gall to go long, right? All these are just longs waiting to get broken. If things do get bad in the next few days, week, whatever, I think you'll cut straight through all this like a hot knife through butter, and it's going to be nasty. Now, that could lead to, again, the what if scenario of what if it breaks below runs the lows, and then comes back into the trade range, well then yeah, like I love that. I love that. This is when I get real interested, because now you've run all the lows, you've scared everybody out, nobody has any faith in it. That's me. Boom, right there, I'm in. But we're not there yet. Not there yet. Something to keep an eye on. But again, I point to the volume to say this ain't it. This is not supportive of an actual sustained rally to the upside. My thoughts. Guys, do you want me to go over the trades I took on BINGX, like when I was playing around with the interface and stuff? Do you want me to go over that and kind of show you like what I did and like trades are few and far between for me. So the fact that I even clicked the button was hilarious. I'm going to point out a little coin by the name of AXS. Okay, this is a coin that, and this is what I'm trying to show you. When I went on BINGX, I sorted by there, and I'll show you here in a little bit. We'll get to in a second. There's a way to sort by what moved either the most aggressive to the upside or the most aggressive to the downside, like the biggest gainer, biggest loser kind of thing. And what I saw was 30-something% in a 24-hour period and 22% in like 4 hours or something. I was like, what? So again, I don't have a whole lot of faith in Bitcoin at this point of the market. I had an idea that the entire broader market was kind of kissing off some diagonal trend line and was likely to return to some support line at minimum. So when I see something going parabolic, literally going parabolic, and then breaking what appears to be the parabola, you know, like if I overlaid this with a parabola, blah, 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 words are hard. The idea, I don't want to sit here and curve fit it, but you can visually see like, okay, yeah, this thing is going literally to the universe, like into the stratosphere. And then suddenly you have this big break and it's broken, and it's been a few hours just sitting there. So I said, all right, let's enter a short. And I was playing with kind of isolated margin and stuff like that. And I effectively entered a short in here ish, somewhere in there, with a stop kind of above where these are our 10-15 minute candles, and it was just kind of a YOLO trade. Whatever, let's see what happens. And yeah, they did pretty good. So this, what does it say? 11:20, 11:17, 11:30, and then 10:50. And then, you know, these were on 10x margin, so I was playing with margin, the little slider, the whole thing. And we got 84%, 33%, 48%, 30%. Now, I throw up in my mouth every time somebody tries to put up gain porn. This is not what this is. And I will be the first to tell you, when somebody says, I made 84% on 10x, your brain should say, oh, you made 8%, which is still good. Don't get me wrong. You predicted, you know, within a short period of time, an 8% move. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not about to be like, oh, I got 84%, blah, blah, me, blah, blah, blah. So I just thought that this was an interesting trade, the way that it worked out. So the entries were like up here, and I basically just managed them on the way down. And every time I would see a big impulse like this, I would put my stop back at that high. And then, so my stop's up here. Well, then we get another big impulse that I have no faith in actually continuing, and now my stop's here. So I would just kind of walk my stops down. I was watching it, and then eventually my stop got hit somewhere. I forget where it was. I think I had to stop like on this drop. I think I put it like right at the start of that candle or something. I don't know. I don't remember what happened. Or maybe it was that little impulse, and I put a stop right there. And it ended up getting taken out right here. So I don't chase, right? And this is a big part of trading, is not chasing. That could have been a much better trade. But hey, I'll take it. We got some W's. We learned how the exchange worked, how BINGX worked. And we walked away with some money. And that's it. So now I just wait to the future and look for another setup. So I'm not going to go over setups on individual coins on BINGX right now. I feel like that's, I don't know, we're kind of like moving into dangerous waters. I'm not trying to like get you guys FOMOing into anything like that. I think going on TradingView, I've laid out exactly what I think on a lot of these coins. If there's anything else I haven't done it, let me know. ALGO, somebody wanted me to look at ALGO. See, a lot of these things are doing this, and I think this is not, whenever you have equal lows and higher highs, this is bearish consolidation. It's just another type of bearish consolidation. So I don't love that. Again, the same concept applies, that the lows are not getting taken out. I need to see the lows taken out. So if I see this by the time it actually breaks, this is likely to be kind of the GG move. And I hate to say it. I think that's going to do it. I think that's it. I think that's it. Chat, I got to, oh yeah, see, like no lows have been run for ALGO. Big yikes. I love you all. Be safe. Please don't FOMO in. I'm worried about this market. I'm worried about everything we're looking at. I'd love for things to go higher. I really would, but I'm not trying to be perma bulljack, perma bearjack, just charts jack. Just whatever the charts are telling you. That is all I'm good for. That's all I'm here for. And nothing else. I'm not your hype man. You know, I'm not your bear guy telling you to sell.